One time, my alarm clock blared pornography throughout my parents' house. Reddit, how has technology betrayed you? My web browser of choice is Google Chrome. For those who don't know, Chrome links up with your Google account and can sync any or all of your browsing preferences, history, bookmarks, homepage, etc. across whatever computers you enable it on. The only two computers I really use are my home computer and my work computer. Relevant detail, because my work is awesome. There is no internet filter. We can browse anything we want. I maintain different browser usage for each computer, so I have the sync feature turned off for these two computers. Or so I thought. For some reason I've forgotten. It's irrelevant anyway. My one friend had the need to use the computer at my house. She did so while I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't see what it was she was doing. When I checked my computer later, she had changed my homepage to gayporn.com. Hahaha, there's gay-p. You got me. I laugh it off. I go into work the next day and open up my usual applications, Google Chrome, Outlook, Pigeon, and wait for them to load. As I wait for them to load, I look down at my phone to burn the 10 seconds or so on Reddit. I look back up, and gayporn.com is glaring at me from my very large computer monitor. It had somehow synced across computers, even though it shouldn't have, and now I was looking at gay-p while at work. Thankfully, I don't think anyone saw it. There was only one other guy in the office at the time, and he was facing the other direction. But the terror that instantly dawned on me as I saw men banging each other on my work computer monitor will live in my mind forever. In my college English class, my teacher was reading out loud and all of a sudden everyone could hear pee. The really loud kind coming from someone's bag. A girl took her phone out, tried and failed to turn it off and ended up taking the battery out of her phone. She looked embarrassed and said bloody pop-ups before slumping back into her seat. I hate when pop-ups turn my phone on and start playing pee. When I was in college, my roommate's vibrator went off all by itself, making her whole underwear drawer rattle and shake. This was in the middle of the night and woke us both up. I was the first one to lumber out of bed and check out the scene with the kind of bravado that accompanies extreme drowsiness. So I found the drawer, while my roommate sat slowly up in bed, and I'm sure horror was cascading down upon her. I still at this point didn't realize what it was, but fiddled around with something in the drawer and it turned off without me doing much to it. She finally said, "Holy crap, my vibrator woke us both up. Frick, I'm so freaking embarrassed." This woke me up quite well, and yes, everything finally clicked into place in my mind. I said, in a voice now feigned with great disorientation, "I won't remember this tomorrow. Don't worry." Then I made myself drop back into bed as hard as I could, as though too confused to get in there properly. I pretended to go to sleep right away, which left me frozen in a still silence for 45 minutes. I never mentioned this again, because I didn't want her to feel bad. I wanted her to think I really did forget. But I still remember 13 years later. I'll never forget. I never told anyone, though, outside of right now and here with anonymity on my side. When I was younger, I left a porno paused on my computer monitor and forgot about it. The image of a woman getting plowed with her ankles behind her head was burned onto the screen, and I was grounded for a long time. Reminds me of a Craigslist ad for a free TV where the owner left on vacation while gay-p remained paused on the TV for over a week and burned in. I was sitting in a class of roughly 150 people while I was at Michigan State. It was a particularly slow and boring class, so I decided to open up my laptop and play Super Mario 64 on an emulator I'd just downloaded. I almost always check the mute button but forgot to time this one time. The program opens in full screen mode and starts the game. For those of you who loved this game as much as me, remember the first audio? It me, Mario, played so loud the entire lecture hall went silent and the prof just sat and stared at me until I had successfully muted and shrunk so low in my seat no one else could see me. Not on the same level as the P stories, but to this day, I obsessively check my mute button on all devices. So I had been watching P on my phone, as I am wont to do, but I forgot to close the tab the P was on. So I was at lunch the next day with a work colleague and decided I wanted to find out what the Olympic medal count was. This happened last week FTR. I opened the browser and bam, Full volume porno of some Japanese girl getting railed. I tried to shut it off as quick as I could, but it still went on for a couple seconds. My friend and the adjacent tables of people all just kinda sat there quietly for a second. Very awkward to say the least. I was bored and started to look at some really messed up hentai. I came across a picture of a chick with a horse dong and I was about to hit next to not look at it anymore and click like on Facebook instead of next. After the Jenna Marbles music video came out, Bounce That Dong, I got the grand idea to set the chorus as my ringtone. Bounce that dong B, shake it all around, etc. Now, usually I keep my phone on vibrate anyway, out of habit during school, but one fateful day I was visiting my grandmother and mom with my 2 roommates, who, mind you, thought my ringtone was hilarious. Obviously, my phone had somehow been turned up all the way and I got a text message. Deep male voice begins to blare from my phone about bouncing dongs. I have never turned my phone off so quickly in my life. I looked up in horror to my roommates who were doing their best to not laugh and my mom and grandma were just kind of sitting there. I'm not sure if they had heard the lyrics, but I figure they did. In front of your grandma. That makes it so much worse. I'm so sorry. I never look at P on my iPod, because I'll let so many people use it so often for playing games and such. I have the Alien Blue app, so it shows all of my subscribed Reddits on a list and whatnot, and when I'll let a girl hold my iPod, the first freaking app she clicks on it was Reddit. The list of my subreddits comes up, and RBJ's was right near the top. She just looked at me, pointed to the screen, pressed the home button and opened Tetris and started playing. The manually enter subreddit option is the solution in this case, I would say. Same story, different situation. Got an iPhone, used it a lot for solo sexy times, forgot to close the tab on Safari, friend needed to look something up on Google. Yep. Basically every time someone asks to borrow my phone, I have a minor heart attack stroke. I've had kind of the opposite experience. I was watching a porno with my headphones on in my room. I got to a point where the audio cut out for a few minutes. Annoyed, I went back a few minutes into the video. All of a sudden my elbow hits against my headphones and they come out. But, instead of having my hardcore anal pee blasted for my parents' brother to hear, there was only silence. I was at the 30 seconds of the video where there was no audio. Another time, the same thing happened. But all that got heard was crappy porno music and some talking. Being the SAP I am, after I quickly pause the video I open up a random YouTube news video to simulate the talking and make it look like it was a news video all along. TLDR, YouTube news videos are perfect for masturbating silently. This happened to a friend of mine, so she bought a Roomba and was really happy with it for a while. Used it mostly to vacuum up the hair her pug sheds. So apparently her pug had a little bathroom problem and decided to take a crap on the living room rug one day. So Roomba's Roombaing along one day while she's at work, and its sensors aren't strong enough to go around the pile of dog crap, so it goes right through it. But that's not enough to stop the Roomba, so it continues vacuuming around the entire house, completely covered in crap, for the entire 8 hours my friend is at work. You can imagine the look on her face when she enters the front door to find every floor surface on her main floor coated in dog crap. Fateful, not faithful. Also, you're like my brother. You let the alarm clock blare at full volume for hours on end? That's irritating as all heck when I'm trying to sleep in. Frick you, man. I hope you choke on your pancakes. I know how obnoxious I am. It sucks, because I don't know how to stop it. It's like I'm not there. I simply don't wake up. I am in butthole to my neighbors and it isn't a conscious decision. Trying to show off Siri to my grandparents. I wasn't getting much signal at all in their house, so 5 times in a row I asked my phone to do something impressive. It just responded with, "Sorry, sexy, I can't do that right now." I was getting ready to drive from Green Bay to Minneapolis for a weekend, which is basically a 4-hour drive west. While sitting in my driveway, I programmed our GPS to go to my destination in the Twin Cities. Late Sunday afternoon, sitting at my original destination, I programmed the GPS to take me to my home. I didn't look at the map. because I was literally just reversing the route I had taken to get to the same spot. The estimated time of arrival said 8 o'clock something, and since I was leaving around 4 PM, that made sense too. Except that it wasn't estimating that I'd get home at 8:56 PM. For reasons we still don't understand, the GPS didn't just reverse the route and instead programmed a route that would take me 8 hours and 56 minutes and go through Iowa and southern Wisconsin. I didn't notice until I had been driving for almost 2 hours and I still hadn't crossed the Mississippi River. I ended up having to turn around, go back to Minneapolis and stayed overnight somewhere in western Wisconsin, missing a half day of work the next day. I still want to smash that GPS with a hammer over that incident. TLDR, GPS is not a replacement for thinking. Funny story. What I'm interested in mostly is your rationale for your writing style. It looks like you rolled a dice after every sentence and if it landed on 6 you pressed enter. Habit I acquired after years of posting on message boards and whatnot. I find if you press enter for every break in natural speech, it ends up less of a wall of text and people are more likely to read it. I needed to use a local internet cafe called Banada during moving in 2006-07. This place was raided in 2011 for suspected ties to terrorist organizations. I walk in, the place is literally filled to the brim with Middle Eastern young men. I find a free PC. On the right a Middle Eastern youth is watching US soldiers being blown up while muttering Allah Akbar under his breath. On the left there is some young guy with a headscarf reading and reciting surahs. Fine. I do not give a crap about this stuff. I am here to do what I need to do and not to discuss politics. As I walk to the counter to get some things printed, I leave my newly acquired phone next to the computer. I get a call. America, America frick yeah. Coming again to save the motherfucking day yeah. America frick yeah. Freedom is the only way yeah. Terrorists your time is throw. Click. I grab my phone, smile politely and nope it out of there with the Ethiopian owner cracking up. I try to act little overly inconspicuous, and as I walk out and past the window, I glance back in and see almost everyone in there laughing their asses off. This will probably be buried but I recently bought a 3D TV and some 5.1 surround sound gaming headphones for my PS3. So I was bored one night and I thought, hey, why not watch some surround sound? 3DP. So I'll load it all up, lube up and go to town. Once the business is done, I take off my headphone, but I can still hear the video. What the frick? I checked my PS3 settings and the P was being output through both my TV and my surround sound headphones. Everyone was in. Everyone knew. I imagine people look like Steve Wonder whilst jacking it to 3DP. Those glasses man. Did they think I just said frick the world before going on a 3-hour masturbation free for all in their home? This made me LOL so hard. As a 20-yo who works in IT, I always delete my browsing history if I even want to chance a porno site on my phone. History, cookies, temp, cache, no traces left behind. I'm like Liam Neeson getting his family back. Nothing is spared in my wake. This was back when I was using Internet Explorer 6 I think, Shudder. But anyway, I was on Facebook then had the urge to fap. So I made another tab and went on my treasure trove of favorites. As I was watching, the door opens and in walks my mum. Now usually I am quick to close everything, but I forgot that I had 2 tabs open, so the dang close current tab thing came up and I didn't realize until my mum herself pointed it out. Liar. IE6 didn't have tabs. Once I asked my mom if she would rent Dazed and Confused for me and my friend. She was hesitant and started arguing with me about how it was inappropriate. I decided to text her while she was in town to convince her to rent it. I sent her a text message that said something along the lines of why can't you rent a rated R movie when I have rated R movies at home. She never responded. An hour later, she came home livid and needless to say, without the movie. I had never seen her this mad. I was so confused. She finally made a comment about how I should reread the message I sent her. Turns out I sent a message that read why can't you rent a rated R movie when I have rated R mother at home? Thank you autocorrect. She was angry because it's true. Lulling sounds of gangbangery, and thanks to you, I'm crying from laughter in the middle of my office trying to stifle my laughs. I have my alarm set to play 80s music about 30 minutes before my actual alarm goes off. I'm pretty sure it was playing country or some other awful music this morning, as if it were punishing me for something. Doot 2 I've got you babe. When I wanted to show my roommate or a friend a cool video on YouTube, I used to start by typing in YouTube in the URL box. Except typing U was problematic. Youges and YouPorn listings were coming up first every time. I go tired of the let's see if I can type fast enough and not have to make any corrections gamble. So now I have a browser icon I click on instead. Similar stories led to the invention of incognito browsing, something we are all very grateful for. It's not a huge thing, but just imagine you being the friend in the second paragraph. I was out with some friends at a restaurant and one of them has no problems asking dirty and otherwise bizarre questions, especially while tipsy as he was. He had taken a real liking to my BF, like a bromance crush. I can't remember now how the conversation came up, but he started asking about if black men's penises turn a purple color when they are hard. BC their skin is already dark, is there a color change? My BF was black. And yes, I know it's a weird question, but that's how he is. I told him I wasn't telling him anything intimate about my boyfriend, but gave him my smartphone and told him to look it up himself. He finds a site, goes around showing group. Later that evening I'm out with my female friend having a coffee in a nice cafe alongside a beach. We are just talking and debating something and she decides to look it up. You see what's going to happen, right? I hand her my phone to prove me wrong, and as she swipes it open, a black gay photo Tumblr account pops up with all sorts of close-ups and the nitty-gritty. She almost throws my phone at me. She's a virgin at 27 and tells me what's on the screen. I then have to explain what happened to her, that it wasn't me. Luckily she knew the guy that was looking it up and made fun of him later. We all still do. Virgin at 27. My fiance and I like to play truth or dare over text message, and occasionally we can get kinda gross. One time he dared me to take a picture of myself on the toilet, so I did. I accidentally forwarded the message to my work contacts, and when I walked out of the toilet I could see like 5 people in my office looking at their phones. To my horror I acted like I meant to do it, hahaha, but secretly I still feel like a dummy. Everyone in my office now thinks I am really weird, lol. I would freaking quit. I had my cabinet speakers hooked up to my PC for the ultimate gaming experience. My 2 AM fun time comes around and I watch P with my headphones on. Get done and pull off my headphones to realize I forgot to turn the speakers off and was blasting P at rock concert levels throughout the house. I come out of my room to my parents applauding, thinking I had finally brought a girl home. Facepum. This isn't really a betrayal, but it seems fitting here. My friend had just graduated high school, and as a gift from his grandparents received a laptop. One night, we changed his homepage to Brown Love, I think it was. Maybe Brown Loving. A site that has images of orgies where the people are absolutely covered in fecal matter. Anyway, we thought he'd see it shortly after we left. He didn't. We later learned his internet had been down all night and so he couldn't get online. The next day was his graduation party, and his mom said, "Why don't you show everyone what you got from your grandparents?" Well, he whipped it out in front of his family, and bam. His browser gladly decided to load up Brown Love for all to see. He was blushing and panicking and trying to close the browser. Not quick enough though, because everyone saw it and sat in silence for a few seconds. My brother used to use a CD player alarm clock. He had Blink-182 as Take Off Your Pants and Jacket in the player, and slept in all the way to the bonus tracks. So he woke up to his alarm blaring, "I wanna frick a dog in the butt." I just got the Samsung Galaxy Captive 8, and was listening to music on the way to class. I pressed pause and unplugged my headphones and then put it all in my pocket. Fast forward a half hour, I unlock it to see what time it is, and then starts blasting a song I never heard of on speaker. I like Spanish. I like Italian girls. I like German girls. I got a bunch of techno from my friend. TLDR. Frick Android phones. This may be the reason I dislike Apple, but when I was in the 7th grade or so, we were in the computer lab working on some project. We were using these all-in-one Macs, those ones that are big and fat. Anyways, being an immature 7th grader, I googled something stupid like "how do I know I am gay" or something, for some cheap laughs. Well, the piece of crap Mac didn't like that and froze up, like it was punishing me for googling such a thing. The stupid keyboard became a cruel accomplice to the Mac. It refused to process anything I pressed. The whole screen is frozen. It isn't doing nothing. I see the teacher. She starts walking down our row. I start freaking out. I'm supposed to be a good kid, not someone looking up silly stuff like I did. I tried the power button in desperation, but to no avail. For some reason the whole machine refused to help me out. As the teacher neared closer, there was only one thing I could do. I pulled out the cable from the back. The teacher didn't even notice me doing this and she just walked by. A very close call. Kids, that's why I don't like Macs. My friend once set his phone up to take a photo of himself taking a dump on the toilet, doing a double thumbs up to the camera lens, then promptly sent me the photo. Hilarious, of course, and I set the picture to come up when he rang me. Few weeks later at work, sat in the canteen during lunch with two girls, one of which I was desperately trying to impress. She had my phone and was looking at YouTube or whatever, when my friend rings me, along with the full screen photo of him taking a crap and giving me the thumbs up. Needless to say, she wasn't amused. Kinda late to the party, so I was in class with roughly 130 people. It was a pretty boring lecture, so I switched from Ubuntu to Windows to play some Skyrim. Before class, me and my friend were on my laptop and he was showing me My Little Pony, which caused him to put the volume all the way up on Ubuntu. So I play a bit of Skyrim. It was muted. I go back to Ubuntu to finish taking notes and all of a sudden the intro sound starts blaring. In my quick attempt to try and turn off the sound, I accidentally hit the Windows key, which caused it to go into a different screen. GNOME 3 desktop. So the volume buttons just didn't work. Now the sound finishes and everyone stops, including the professor. I'm sitting near the top, but I had really nice speakers on my laptop so everyone in the room heard. They all stop, turn around and look at me, then give me a round of applause. I slouched so far down into my seat. Not as good as your story, but it's also iPhone trouble. I like to use my iPhone as an alarm clock, but the standard clock app does not allow you to play your own music. After a while I started sleeping through those annoying tunes, causing me to be late for school. So, I looked for an app that would allow me to play my own music, found it, set an alarm, then went on browsing the web. Next morning, dang thing doesn't wake me up. Turns out you have to have the app open, and your iPhone has to be unlocked. Okay, try again. Still doesn't work. I forgot to turn the sound on. After trying a couple of times, I have the Apple figured out. I'm very happy I'm not being late every day anymore. Until one day, I wake up at 7:30. School starts at 8 o'clock. Frick, what had happened? The app crashed in the middle of the night. That or sleeping me pressed the home button to buy me some more sleep. I now use an online radio app with a built-in alarm clock. Works great. That's nice, honey. On my break at work, just burst out laughing in front of my assistant manager. Great post, and very well written. If you've got more stories, please share. Perhaps not so shockingly, I've had a lot of incredibly awkward moments in my life. I used to work in retail, and I could write a novel on the mind-blowingly unfortunate things that happened to me in those years. I'll keep writing these up if people care. TLDR. Always delete your internet history, kids. Okay, so I was the ripe old age of like 16 and I went home after school one day and I wanted to get on our family computer. My little brother had been the last one on the computer. He was like 13. I could tell because it had an IE session open to some stupid Lego site that he was obsessed with. There was another IE session popped up too and I figured it was just a pop-up based on the address I could see. So I went to close it and it opens up full screen. My poor face was assaulted by some of the nastiest BDSM, BBW, and gay P I have ever seen. I stand there, flabbergasted, trying to figure out how the heck this happened, when all of my extremely young siblings, age 6-9, walk in and ask what I'm doing. I panic and tell them to leave and turn off the monitor. Once I get them out, I try to get the IE session to close. I go through the internet history then and find a list that could rival Satan's spank bank. It was terrifying. So, I leave the computer sitting and assure myself that once my parents get home I'll show them my find and they'll be pleased I was able to catch something as bad as gay pee. So I go about the business of taking care of my siblings like a good older brother and eventually forget about the pee. A couple hours later my parents come home. They had needed to check something online right away, so they both went to the family computer where they find the internet history still open. They scream for me to get in there right now. I go in freaking out because I can't figure out why they would be so mad at me. What do you know about this? They demanded. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you guys about this, was the best my stupid brain could manage to stammer out. After a few minutes of explaining, my mother was still not convinced that it wasn't me that did it. Finally, I had to tell my dad if it was me, I would have cleared the history, deleted the cookies, and left no trace. He agreed that I'm not that dumb and convinced my mother to agree. They called in my brother and interrogated him. Then my mother sat there and went through every single link in the history. So yeah, the internet history tried to get me in trouble for something that I hadn't even done. It was the dad. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.